Hello everyone, it's Matt from Kumamods back again with another resin review. This time it is the Ifun Rigid White Resin. That is the IF3120w. It's a mouthful, I know. But that's their coding for specifically this resin. Now, what makes this resin so special? Really, it's just kind of like a rigid resin. The major selling points on this one is that while it's white resin, they boast and they say that it stays white when you print with it and you go and cure it. Now, is that the case? Let's take a look at some prints and see how that is. So I'm just gonna give you a full disclaimer right here because of my lighting setup is a little too bright, I guess you could call it, too rough. Some of these prints are going to be kind of hard to see the details in because the light is so overpowering with these prints because they are a white color. But I'm going to try my best to show it off to you guys and basically go from there. So let's start with a couple prints that I pulled off of Thingiverse. They're both like kind of necromancing prints, and I'll link all the prints that I'm showing off here at the bottom, as well as an affiliate link to buy this resin if you're interested. So let's go ahead and check out some of the prints. So with this one, it is I believe this is the Necromancer. And like I said, I'm trying to do a little better job with the lighting because as you can see, you literally cannot see anything. But if I put my hand there, we might be okay. So maybe I can do this. There we go. So he is a little bit dark because he's been kind of sitting in the pile with my other stuff. But for those who are wondering, is this really a rigid resin? So basically, this is a base. This is a two-part print, and we printed his base, and it just kind of sticks in the bottom of him. And basically, you can move this thing around and have no issues with it. So that is a very thin piece, if you can see, of resin, and it's very, very flimsy and can move around. I shouldn't say flimsy. Flimsy is not a right word for that, but it's very, very flexible. Not to the point where it's like you can flex it in half, but it's got a little bit of give in it. So if you're looking for a white resin that does have a little bit of strength in it, that doesn't, crack and shatter into a million pieces, this is probably going to be a good resin. So here's another one that is a Necromancer. Again, he's kind of got some dirty spots on him because I will say if you're going to be using this resin, just make sure that you put the models into a place that doesn't have gray resin models or dark resin models in general, because they will pick up literally anything that you put them against. So if you scrape them across something, it's just going to show on it. So, and that's kind of the case with this one. But this one is another necromancer. He's kind of like a wolf necromancer. So I thought that was kind of cool. And he's got his little like shaman thing going on here. But yeah, really, really cool. And again, his tassel printed off perfectly fine. Of course, we supported these, so they came out not too bad. And they are pretty flexible as well. These ones, not so much because they're more like in the way. But since this one's kind of branching off of them, this one is very, very flexible. Another thing that I printed, I went like on a musical kick, I guess you can say, and I really shouldn't have because I don't really have a musical bone in my body except for maybe singing. But in terms of playing stuff, yeah, I definitely don't have a musical bone in my body. But I saw this; it was kind of cool. It's a little flute type thing, and I'll try and play something for you guys if I can. I don't think anything's gonna come out of this though. So kind of something. It's not the greatest. I'm terrible with flutes. I know that already. We'll just leave that be because yeah, I'm just horrendous with flutes. So another cool thing that I decided to print off was a little reproduction case of a Dreamcast VMU. Now, when I say like reproduction, yeah, it's kind of looks the same, at least exterior wise, but internally it is completely different. It's all kind of gutted up. So it was something that somebody just kind of mocked up on Thingiverse, and then they remixed it and made it their own. And then I went ahead and I printed it, thinking, hey, I can have replacement VMU shells for my Dreamcast VMU. But turns out that's not the case. This is more or less like just a kind of party favor type thing, or showpiece. But God, that's how terrible the whiteout is over here. Look at that. You can barely see anything, and then you can see stuff. So it's pretty cool. It's a two-part thing. Obviously, we got to do some cleanup on it because there's a lot of pitting and whatnot from the supports that we had in there. I think I forgot to set the correct supports on these, so they're a little bit heavier. But it didn't turn out not too bad. I was quite surprised about it. We basically printed them like this uh, on the build plate, and we specifically printed most of this resin on the Kingaroon KP6 just because it was right next to me. It's been here, and we just set it and let it print. So kind of cool stuff. We did throw a little bit into the Calent S400. And that was more or less just to see if we can dial it in really quick, and we did. So I ended up doing a test print, and this is the test print from the Calent S400. And it's basically 3 bird cages with little birdies inside of it. And you can kind of see them a little bit. It's kind of hard to focus on those specifically, but you can see them pretty well. They're not too bad, and they came out pretty good, and they print just in place, no supports or anything like that. So really, really cool little prints. But one of the ones that I decided to go ahead and print, I always grew up in the 90s watching awesome cartoons like Captain Planet. If you guys know anything about Captain Planet, it's basically the Planeteers. It's a group of, 5 kids. And basically, they all have superpowers, kind of like the Green Lantern, where they have rings. One of them's Earth, Wind, Fire, Heart, and Earth, I think it is. So maybe it's four people. Might be 5. I might be missing one in there. But anyway, when they combine their powers, as they say, with your powers combined, they produce Captain Planet, who's like the superhero of the comic or show, I guess. And so he comes out and he fights all the evil like pollution guys that want to destroy the earth. It's kind of a comical thing now that I think about it, but it was a really interesting show. But yeah, so I decided to print him off. I found a file that somebody had made, and it was a 3-part file, and I've been starting to get into piecing my prints together. So it's kind of nice that, I'm kind of getting out of my comfort zone where, I'm not printing models just in one piece now. I'm kind of, piecing them together and whatnot. So I'm just warning you right now that because of the way that this is molded together, there was a little bit of yellowing because we kind of baked the resin on there with a UV light. So there's not really much control on that. And that's actually a stronger light than what it needs to. So it kind of bakes the resin a little bit. And I wanted that specifically because I needed something to set like almost instantaneously, and that's what it does. So if you guys are interested in that light, I'll throw it up there. But basically, I had his head, his torso, and then his legs, and then we all just kind of put them together, and here he is. It doesn't look too bad, actually. So the red stuff here is because I used a little sanding disc, and I probably shouldn't use that one, but I just needed something to get it, a little bit even, because the bottom of his torso and the top of his legs were kind of like wiggle wobble. So I can put it together, and it might be okay with the resin because resin is liquid, so you can just kind of mold it the way that you need to, and then cure it. But I just wanted something where I can just kind of hold them like this and then flash the light across them, cure the front part, and then just get around the back. So we still have a lot of cleanup to do, but what's nice about this is even though that's over cured resin, this is pretty much meant to be a painted model. I don't know if I'll ever get around to that, but he's definitely going to be like kind of chilling on my shelf for a little bit. But yeah, definitely really, really cool. You can kind of see his little planet tier type thing. So really, really cool little guy. And I just absolutely love it because he looks just like Captain Planet. It's so awesome. Like this is the coolest stuff that you can do. Like I absolutely love this. So anyway, that's pretty much all I printed with that. I did have a couple like exposure settings, and they were perfect, right on the money. Like I have a pretty good knack of just setting an exposure time on these printers, letting it run, and usually I either get it on the first try or the second try nowadays. So it's very rare that I go above that. Not trying to, boast anything and like, oh my God, you guys don't know what you're doing. It's not like that. It's just I've been doing this for a while, so I kind of know my resin exposure settings and how resin is going to work on each individual printer because that's what'll happen. Like this printer might take 1.5, this printer might take 2.2, that printer might take 3.0. Who knows? And that's exposure time, by the way. So, but that's pretty much all I got to say about it. It's a really, really nice resin, and as you can see, it stays super white. So there's no yellowing on this model, and this is the biggest model that I've done, minus the Captain Planet bust. But this was in one go, and the reason why you probably see these layer lines is because I literally printed it just like this, straight up and down on the build plate. But that could also be that this was made in Tinkercad, and somebody just kind of, melded it over as best as they can, and that's the best you're going to get out of Tinkercad in terms of like flushness. But it's not the end of the world. So if we needed to sand this down and smooth it, it'll be perfectly fine. So, but not too bad in terms of durability. Like you can go ahead and hit it pretty well. I'll use my my trusty knife. So not too bad. Like, yeah, you might dent it a little bit, but yeah, it's actually a little stronger than you think. So definitely better than like your standard resin, obviously. Like I said, if you need something not so much with a flexibility in it, but a little bit more strength, this would definitely be a resin that you want to take a look at, especially if you're looking for one that is a white color and it stays the white color. Now, I will stress that with that being said, in order for that to stay as white as possible, like all these models stay very white, make sure that you guys are tuning your resin exposure settings, because with like this machine, the Kingaroon, I think we have it set to 2.0 or 2.2. If I were to set that at actually 2.5 and I go ahead and I print with this, it will literally start turning yellow because we're overexposing the like chemical bonding that they use for this. So it's kind of strange how it does that, but understandable because you're literally baking the resin. So it's going to change its shape, its form, its chemical properties because you're literally baking the pigment out of it. So you just always want to make sure that you have your correct exposure settings down to the best that you possibly can. So the other thing to touch on with that is when you are curing, I get this asked all the time, is what is my form of washing and curing? So usually I'll take it directly off the build plate, put it in my wash station for about 6 minutes. Usually I'll do a pre-wash actually. So I'll wash it for like a minute or so, just kind of swish it around there to get any excess resin off. Then I'll put it in my wash station for about 6 minutes, let it go, and then take it out, let it dry for a little bit. If there's any supports that need to come off, I'll remove them then, and maybe just kind of dunk it in there to swish off all the excess supports that are on there. And then once it's all dry, I'll let it sit there for probably another 6 to 10 minutes, depending on the model. I'll let it dry on a piece of paper towel or my silicone mat, and then I'll throw it back into the cure station for about 6 minutes. And that's pretty much every single model that I do. I use and I know I'm going to get flack for this 666 method. So it's 6 minutes washing, 6 minutes curing, or 6 minutes drying, 6 minutes curing. So, and you can even add 6 minutes if you want to wash it in between that time. But yeah, basically, I use the 666 method. And I know some people are, taboo about that. They don't want to do it. But that's worked for me, and it's worked for literally every single one of my prints, and I've had no issues with overexposing or underexposing. It usually gets it just right. So I haven't really played with anything above or below that setting because that just seems to be the sweet spot no matter what size the model is. So like I said, if you guys are interested in this resin, I will leave a link down in the description below. As of right now, I'm looking at it on Amazon. It is going for $17.99, and that is for a 500 milliliter bottle. So it's about your normal price range for like an ABS type resin. So if you think about it, 17. Let's see me do some terrible math. What is this? 20. So 7, 14, 30. So it's like $35, give or take, 36. And that's not including taxes. $36 for a kilogram of resin or 1,000 milliliters. However you want to, convert that. So roughly around $36. So that's about standard for most of the resins that I use. That I see around, and I usually use Ifun resins for lower end quality resins out of anything. So that's usually right around the same price range, and they do fluctuate from a daily basis. That's why I'm saying, as of right now, making this video, it does say $17.99. And there are some other colors that you can utilize that they have on the Amazon website, but specifically this review is more for the point of the white resin because they wanted to make sure that that was boasted out, that it stays white, and it absolutely does. I mean, like I said, you guys can see how white this is. Just to give you an idea, we have this little bust. Okay, this is like a ceramic bust. So, okay, ceramic is pretty white. That's pretty close, I'd say. In fact, almost identical. I know whitewashing, it's terrible. So pretty darn close to like a ceramic color. So that's really, really nice if you guys are looking for a true white resin. But like I said, just be careful because if you overexpose it, you guys may or may not be able to see that. His like whole front here and on his neck area is a little bit more yellowish because, like I said, the light that I use is a little bit more stronger than what's needed. It's more closer to the sun, so to speak, and that's basically it. So I'm going to leave you guys with that. I hope you guys enjoy the review, if I can talk today. And that's pretty much it. If you guys like the video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, share it out to your friends, show it off, do whatever you want. If you guys aren't subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and think about subscribing. Every little subscriber helps me on my journey to make you guys more content, and who knows, maybe we'll make some better content than this stuff that I've been kind of putting out that's mediocre in my opinion. I know some of you guys are okay with it, but I'd like to get a little bit better quality on it. So maybe sometime down the road we'll do some upgrading, which we already have. We're using a better camera and some better audio here and there. So we're still kind of tweaking some things here and there before we start getting into the really professional video editing type stuff. But I promise we'll get there at some point. But that's, like I said, pretty much it. I'm gonna stop rambling on and let you guys go. Like I said, I'll leave links down in the description for everything that we showed off here today, including the resin. And that's pretty much it. Until next time, guys, happy printing.